Daughters are useless and unworthy, says one South Korean woman. Hi, I'm Phil McCrevis. Thank you for tuning in to True News Network. We hope you all had a great Thanksgiving break, and we are glad you came back to join us. Tonight we have a really fascinating story about gender bias in the Far East. Countries like China, India, South Korea are having more boys being born than daughters. What could be causing this? Tonight I'm lucky to be joined by Dr. Das Gupta, who was a former demographer at the World Bank and now works with the University of Maryland. Dr. Gupta, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Phil. Happy to be here.
So, Ms. Das Gupta.
Dr. Gupta.
My apologies, Dr. Das Gupta. You've done a bit of investigating into this subject.
Well, I'd say that's putting it mildly. I've done a few decades of research in demographics in South Korea, India, China, and what we've witnessed is a targeted violence against women. In these historically patriarchal countries, India, China, etc., we see people striving for sons and sons only. These are the people who are going to carry on the family name and take care of the parents in their old age. And for that reason, daughters are highly disincentivized in these cultures.
But the birth rate, is 50-50 boys and girls. Are you really arguing that the patriarchal society are altering the biology of these mothers to have more sons?
No, absolutely not. See, the natural birth ratio, for example, the one we see in the U.S., is actually about 52-48 in favor of boys. And these Asian countries probably have that same ratio in pregnancy, but we see higher abortion rates and higher rates of infanticide against female children. When we look back on World War I, for example, we have what's called a lost generation because of major losses of young men in the war. We have a really similar situation here where there's a significantly higher number of young men than women because of decades of this selective removal of women. We have these missing daughters.
I'm sorry. It just seems a little bold to equate this situation to World War I. We're talking about the war to end all wars, millions of men dying. Excuse me for just thinking that's a little outlandish to kind of compare these two.
Well, this phenomenon really is on the scale of millions of people. What we're seeing is, for example, in areas with an unnaturally high ratio of men, there's an increase in overall violence and violence targeting women in particular.
That seems like a problem now, but it'll balance off in the future. It's not like anyone really thinks that way now. We're talking about decades in the past that this male preference has been. But I'd prefer to have a son now, but I'm not going to kill my daughter over it.
Well, it's true that there's been improvement, but it's primarily just in South Korea. I believe there's a graphic that shows, there it is, shows that when there is less societal pressure to have a son, we see a return to the natural birth ratio. But there's still quite a bit of work to do in other countries.
I'm sorry, Doctor. I'm going to have to cut you off right there. We want to show you guys a little clip of what you think about this topic. We went out onto the street and asked you guys whether you'd rather have a son or a daughter.
I'm here on the street asking you some questions. When you grow up, do you want a son or a daughter?
Daughter. I don't really care.
Okay.
Easy question. Definitely a son. If I have a daughter, no. I'm putting her up for adoption. Definitely a son.
Thank you. I'm here on the street. Would you rather have a son or a daughter?
I want a daughter. By any means necessary.
Here on the street, would you rather have a son or a daughter?
Both, but a son first.
Here on the street, would you rather have a son or a daughter?
Son.
Here interviewing people on the street, would you rather have a son or a daughter?
I'd say both because everyone's amazing.
You're doing interviews on the street, would you rather have a son or a daughter?
A son.
You guys had some pretty good answers for that one.
Still feel like we have a lot more to talk about on the issue.
It looks like we have just a bit more time. Maybe some closing comments.
Well, here's the thing. We still see this gender bias in India and China and other Asian cultures, the two most highly populated countries in the world. The one-child policy in China, which was only rolled back 2 years ago, was a major contributor to women being pressured to have a son. It's important to promote affirmative action programs for women to give them more of a voice in lawmaking and policy forming. It just takes a little shift in culture and people's attitudes to bring the sex ratio to a more equal level and reduce this violence against girls.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Ms. Dasgupta. We're going to take a brief break. When we come back, tennis shoes. Could your comfy athletic wear be giving you cancer?